Welcome to the SolidCAM University channel. This video's topic is break edges in turning and grooving. So the break edge option, break edge function of turning is actually in the technology section under break edges. And what break edges allows us to do is, if the geometry itself, as you can see here, is a sharp edge, as part of the design, we could go back and change that, regenerate our target envelope, and then get a chamfer or a fillet on that edge. But let's say we don't want to go that far. Maybe we just need to break edges for this one part, or maybe we just, as the programmer, we're not comfortable with SolidWorks and how we could make that change. Inside the toolpath, we can let it cover all of that for us. So for instance, this one sharp edge here is actually denoted in the turning profile by these two lines. That's part of the overall geometry. That actually creates what would be thought of as an external corner. So for this external corner, I've put in a 100th thou rad. So part of the design is a sharp edge, but if we go to Solid Verify, you can see that that came out with that radius. So it's a way to modify the toolpath to adjust the design in any way. Now I've exaggerated this fillet, but the idea here is that you can tell it to do fillets or chamfers, and then once you choose whatever option you want, then you tell it either fillet radius or chamfer parameters. Now let's say it's not a corner inside the geometry, it's the edge, the tip where you start. Well, let's take a look at that example. Say we're looking at the turning of this side. Now that is another sharp edge there, and I want that to be a chamfer. I need to have a chamfered edge on there, maybe just to break at the edges for whatever reason. The geometry for this one, again, is just that straight line. Now, SolidCAM is not going to recognize that as a corner. That is just the endpoint of the geometry. So if I were to go in there and try and do some break edges, let's say we had an external corner, I want to put a 45-degree chamfer on there, it doesn't add it because it doesn't recognize that as a corner. There's nothing there that tells it that that's a corner. I need two lines of the geometry to tell it that there's a corner there. So what I've done in this copy of the turning toolpath is I've set my geometry as both lines, this face and this face. Now, so I don't have to redo this face, what I've done is in the modified geometry, I've trimmed it back. I've used this option right here, so start extension / trimming, and I've just freehanded. I just basically said trim it maybe to that point right there. Just enough that it recognizes that line and can add a chamfer there. So as soon as it's looking at that much of the geometry in break edges, when I put a 45-degree chamfer there, it now adds that chamfer. Just take a look at this in the turning profile. It still does the same geometry I told it to do before, but this time it adds that little bit of a chamfer there. So again, a way to modify the design inside the toolpath so you don't have to go back and change the original design. Any questions on this or anything else from SolidCAM, you can always check out the YouTube channel, SolidCAM University, or stay tuned for the rest of the videos on the website or the YouTube channel itself. Thanks for watching.